Good morning, students. So we have started topic corrosion and rusting, in which we have studied factor that affects corrosion and how to prevent rusting. So that two topics we have covered in the previous class. Today we are going to study about the uses of metals such as iron, gold, copper, aluminium, zinc, lead and magnesium. You have come across many materials which are made up of metals in day-to-day life. Like if I ask you about the use of aluminium, you can easily answer that, miss, we use aluminium foil to wrap food materials so that it becomes hot. Like that only, let's see this one. What are the uses of iron? Iron is the most widely used metals and its uses mainly depend upon its carbon content. It means what? Means the percentage of carbon varies in different types of iron. For example, let us take the example of cast iron. It is used for manufacturing wrought iron and steel. It is generally used for making stove burners, gutter pipes, railway sleepers, etc. In this means I'm telling about in cast iron there is. So what is this cast iron? So it is a group of iron carbon alloys. It is an alloy where iron mixed with carbon. So it is iron carbon alloys with a carbon content more than 2%. Here in cast iron, percentage of carbon is present in more than 2%. Next one, you see, steels. Steels are used for manufacture of permanent magnets, engine parts, utensils, surgical equipments, surgical equipments which doctors used for surgeries. Surgical equipment, springs, gears, drive shafts, armor plates, etc. So the steel is also an alloy of iron with typically a few percent of carbon. Why? Because to improve its strength. Okay. Now wrought iron. Wrought iron is used for making anchors, wire ropes, bolts, chains and agricultural appliances. Wrought iron is also an alloy of iron. So these are the alloys of iron. So let's see some of the use of aluminium, and I think you know about some of the use of this metal. So aluminium generally used for not generally, but it is used to make electrical wires and cables for domestic or industrial use. Aluminium is used to make domestic utensils. You know that. And thin foil of aluminium, just now we have discussed, that is used in packaging food materials. You can see such as biscuits, chocolates. You can take paratha so that it can be hot when you will consume. Due to its low density, aluminium is used in construction industry. Aluminium forms highly useful alloys. Now there are two alloys, that is duralium and magnesium. Duralium consists of aluminium 90%, 4% copper, 1% magnesium and nearly about 0.5 to 1% manganese. So these metals in this percentage, if they are present, this is an alloy and we call it duralium. Magnesium is 95% aluminium with 5% magnesium. So this is magnesium alloy. These are used for making bodies and other parts of aeroplane, cars, buses, furniture, etc. Aluminium powder is used in making paints and explosives as a reducing agent in metallurgy. Copper and aluminium are very good conductors of electricity. This thing we have studied in the physical properties of metal. So they are good conductors of electricity. So that is why copper and aluminium are used for making electrical wires and cables. Now, Now let's discuss uses of lead. So like zinc is used for the galvanization of iron, where we coated zinc, a thin layer of zinc in iron. No, we coated thin layer of zinc as a surface in iron. So this is galvanization of iron. Now tin is used for tinning of iron plates, sheets and copper brass utensils. The zinc and tin are used for protecting iron from rusting. Now what about gold and silver? You know that these metals are used for making jewelry and for decorative purposes. Now sodium, titanium and zirconium are used in atomic energy and space science projects. Zirconium is used for making bulletproof alloy steels. Okay, bulletproof, you know, that which bullets means, you know, na, the bullets, it prove it. Bulletproof means bullet will not come under that bulletproof alloy steels. Nickel and chromium are mainly used for electroplating and for the manufacture of stainless steel. Nickel is also used as a catalyst in many industrial processes, which you will study in the higher classes. Okay. Just see the two uses of magnesium in flashlight photography, fireworks and signal flares. Then used in thermite welding for making light alloys as a reducing agent. So these are the uses of some certain metals which you should remember for examination purpose. Just remember this one. Now what are metalloids? We have studied about metals. We have studied about non-metals. So this metalloids is what? The element that show the properties of both metals and non-metals are called metalloids. Or you can say the elements which show some of the properties of metals and some of the properties of non-metals are called metalloids. So these are the 6 examples of metalloids which is given here: boron, silicon, germanium, tungsten, antimony, arsenic. So you should remember this one, that these are the metalloids. Now you have to study some of the uses of metalloids, which you can see here, that uses of boron. It is used for borosilicate glass, insecticides as boric acid, H3BO3, and laundry products as borax. I have written the formula of borax also, Na2B4O5 OH4.8H2O. Uses of silicon you have to study. It is used, it is alloyed with iron, means silicon is added in iron for electrical steel. Then it is alloyed with aluminium for automotive parts. Like that only you have to study about the various uses of germanium and titanium. Germanium is used in optic fiber. Generally, optic fiber is what? Is the transparent fiber made by drawing silica. Alloyed with silicon for high-speed integrated circuits. Now let's see the uses of titanium. See this one. It has high tensile strength. High tensile strength we have studied in physical properties, that it is the ability of a material to withstand a pulling force. This is high tensile strength. It has lightness. Then some of the major uses of titanium are given. Just study this one. And let's see. Chemical reactors. Marine equipment means, you know, the marine equipment means what? Marine means water. It is related to water. You have heard about the marine plants, no? It is related in the sea, that which is present in the sea. These are found in the sea. So marine is related to the ocean, or not ocean. Actually, marine is relating to the sea. Okay. So this is this marine equipment is the equipments which is related to the sea. Chemical reactors, chemical industry, atomic energy and space science projects. So these are the uses of tungsten, where this dehydrogenation means removal of hydrogen. Okay, these things you're going to study in the higher classes. Just remember the only process, just remember the terms: dehydrogenation, isomerization, aromatization, hydrocracking. Now, important uses are given. Tungsten disulfide is used as a high performance solid lubricant. Tungsten compounds are used for the manufacture of iron and inorganic pigments for ceramic glazes and enamels. Pigments means, it is a colored material. It is a colored material which is insoluble in water. So, these are colored materials. Tungsten diselenide is used in photovoltaic cells or panels. Now, it is used as dental filling materials. It is used as a non-lead radiation apparel in X-ray shielding. X-ray is a machine, In this, we use this one as a radiation apparel. Tungsten and its alloys are used in many high temperature applications, such as arc welding electrodes and heating elements in high temperature furnaces. So this is all about uses of tungsten. Now the next, some of the uses of antimony is also given. So you just study this one. Okay. So antimony is used in lead alloys, mainly for use in batteries. Okay. Antimony is used in the semiconductor industry as an N-type dopant for silicon. I know that the question arises in your mind that what is N-type dopant? When you will study about the semiconductors, in that topic, you're going to study about P-type and N-type semiconductors. And in semiconductor industry, we use this N-type dopant for silicon. So for this topic, you are going to study in the higher classes. Okay. So for now, you remember that antimony is used in the semiconductor industry. Antimony trioxide is used as a flame retardant in adhesives, plastics, rubber and textile. So these are the uses of some of the metalloids, and these are important as a point of examination. These topics are important. You remember this one. Now let's discuss this activity. Some of the activities are given just at the end of this chapter. Let's discuss the activity to find if the given material is a conductor or non-conductor. Connect. So how we are going to do? You can see the setup. You see in your book that circuit 1 and circuit 2 is given, where we just connect the wire from one terminal and the other. That is, you can see that the one end of bulb we have connected through the negative terminal of the battery, and the other terminal of this bulb we have connected to the aluminium wire. Then we have connected this aluminium wire to the positive terminal of the battery. Now you can see the bulb is glowing. Why? You know that aluminium is a metal which is a good conductor of electricity. So that is why electricity flows through the wire and bulb glows. But in the second circuit, you can see that the terminals are connected to only positive. And one more thing, only coal piece is given, no? And you know that the coal piece is not good conductor of electricity, and it is a non-metal, you know. So that is why here bulb does not glow. Okay, and the current does not flow. Now let's discuss activity 4. Check the sonority of the given specimen of Al and coal. So which one will sonorous? Which one will produce a ringing sound? You know that metal produce ringing sound. So here in this case, if you see what happened. Drop the given samples of Al and coal one by one on a hard floor. You can just listen that which one has produced a ringing sound. So you can conclude that coal lump does not make a clear sound, but aluminium wire makes a feeble sound. So Al is sonorous. You know that metal is sonorous. So here also aluminium will produce a feeble sound, not coal lump. Now let's see activity 5. Examine the properties of metals and non-metals through the activity. So you have to do one of the activity in which you are going to take coal piece, aluminium wire and pencil lid. In coal iron nail, if you just beat it with a hammer, you can see that it gets deformed. That means it is ductile. Then if you just beat coal piece, it gets broken into small pieces. That means it is brittle. Aluminium wire, it gets flattened, which means it is malleable. Malleable means when you beat it, it becomes thin sheet. Iron nail is ductile. That means if you can draw it, it will get. And when you beat with a hammer, it get crushed into powder. So these are neither malleable nor ductile. So through this activity, you can conclude that which one is ductile, which one is brittle, which one is malleable. So through this activity, it is important to note down that metals are generally malleable and ductile, while non-metals are non-malleable or non-ductile. Let's see activity 6 to show that for rusting both oxygen and moisture are required. Okay. So we have studied about rusting. In rusting, what happens? Oxygen and moisture both are required. You know, rust is what? The brown powdery substance which is formed on the surface of iron when you left the iron in outside. Means when you left the iron outside, it comes in contact with air and moisture and forms a brown powdery substance on the surface of iron. So what you need here is boiling tubes, nails, cotton, distilled water. Take 3 clean and dry boiling tubes. Label them as 1, 2 and 3 or A, B and C. So you can see that in tube A, place a few lumps of anhydrous calcium chloride and cover it with cotton. Now place a clean iron nail over the cotton and close the mouth of the tube with a cork. Let's see what we can do in tube B. So in tube B, place a clean nail in tube B and fill it with boiled distilled water. Distilled water is boiled to remove the dissolved oxygen from it. Cover the water surface with molten wax and close the mouth of the test tube with a cork. In the third test tube, place a clean iron nail in test tube C and cover it partially with tap water. Okay, so what observation you are going to see? Examine the nails after 3 to 4 days. You have to left those 3 test tubes to 3 to 4 days. Now what you observe? You will observe that in tube C, iron nails gets rusted. Means one brown powdery substance is formed in tube C. Okay, so why? Because tube A contains only dry air, tube B contains water but no air, but tube C contains both water and air. So that is why in tube C the nails get rusted. So this is the activity in which you can see the rust which is formed in presence of air and water. Now there are some of the points where how you can prevent rusting. I think these points we have already covered in that we have studied about the prevention of rusting, right? So these points we have discussed already. So just now I am going to just give you 2 points is not we have discussed, that is tinning and cathodic protection. So just finish this topic. Let's finish this topic. Tinning. Tin is a corrosion resistant and non-toxic metal. Tin is a metal which is a corrosion resistant. So therefore we use this tin for making containers or utensils of iron, brass and copper, safe for storing foodstuffs because it is corrosion resistance. By cathodic protection, so preventing the rusting of iron by connecting it to a more reactive metal is called cathodic protection of iron. For example, when iron is connected to a piece of magnesium, it does not get corroded as long as magnesium is present. So preventing the rusting of iron by just connecting it to a more reactive metal is called cathodic protection of iron. So I hope that this chapter is clear to you all. The corrosion and rusting is very important as a point of examination. Remember this one, and the points also you should remember. The uses, all the things are important. Study well, students, and if you have any problem, comment in the comment box. Thank you.